The silk sheets felt colder than ice. Jungkook blinked slowly, trying to remember where he was. For a second, the glittering wedding ceremony flashed before his eyes, his white suit, the vows he whispered, the kiss they never shared. Then Taehyung's words echoed in his ears. Don't expect love from me, you're nothing to me. Reality returned like a slap. He sat up in the massive bed, alone, untouched, unwanted. His chest ached. Not because he hadn't expected this. Everyone knew Kim Taehyung had a heart carved from stone. But still, Jungkook had hoped, just maybe, that he could melt a piece of it. The door creaked open. Jungkook flinched, but it wasn't Taehyung. Just a maid, bowing slightly. Good morning, young master. Mr. Kim instructed me to bring you breakfast. He's away on business. Jungkook's lips trembled. Business, he repeated, bitterly. Of course, she placed the tray down. He also left this. She handed over a black envelope with a silver wax seal, the symbol of the Kim Mafia family. Jungkook opened it with shaking hands. Until further notice, you are to remain inside the estate. Do not interfere with my work. Obey the staff. Do not contact anyone outside. Like a prisoner. His tears finally spilled, quietly, as if even crying too loudly would be a crime. But deep in the city, Kim Taehyung stood in a dark alley, blood on his gloves and a storm in his eyes. His enemies thought marriage would make him weak. They were wrong. Because no one touched what was his. And whether he knew it yet or not, Jian Jungkook was his. The scent and powder lingered in the air, mixing with the stench of blood and smoke. Taehyung stood silently in the middle of the abandoned warehouse, his sharp black suit untouched despite the chaos around him. His men were dragging the last of the bodies away, and the only light was the flickering flame of a cigarette between his fingers. Clean it up, he ordered coldly. No traces. Yes, boss. He turned away, stepping into the night like a phantom, heading toward his black Bentley parked outside. The city never slept, and neither did he. Especially now, not after marrying him. Jian Jungkook. The name tasted sweet and dangerous on his tongue. He hadn't looked back after leaving the mansion last night, hadn't dared to. Because if he had, he might have seen the tears. He might have felt something. And feelings were a weakness he couldn't afford. Yet all day, his mind kept wandering, soft eyes, trembling lips, the innocent way Jungkook had said I do. Taehyung slammed the car door shut. He wasn't supposed to care. He married Jungkook to seal an alliance, to maintain power and control over the rival Jian syndicate after its collapse. The boy was nothing but a pawn. A fragile, beautiful pawn. But why then did he feel like a villain for walking away, back at the estate? Jungkook sat curled by the window, knees to his chest, watching the rain drip down the glass. He hadn't eaten. The rain hadn't stopped all day. It tapped gently against the window pane like a melody of loneliness, soft, persistent, impossible to ignore. Jungkook hadn't moved from his seat. His wedding suit was now wrinkled and cold, but he couldn't bring himself to change. What was the point? Taehyung hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't shown even the courtesy of a lie. He touched the ring on his finger. Heavy. Fake. Like the vows that bound them. A knock startled him. He turned to see a butler bowing respectfully. Young master, Mr. Kim has arranged for you to meet his private physician today. A routine check. He insisted. Jungkook blinked. Why he didn't say. Suspicion flickered in his chest. Taehyung hadn't even spent the night. Now he wanted his doctor to check on him. Was this control? Or concern? Either way, Jungkook nodded numbly. Fine. Meanwhile, Taehyung stood in front of a cracked mirror in his underground armory. Behind him, a table full of weapons. In front of him, his own reflection, aching, haunted by a crown of violence. Why, the physician, Jimin asked, arms crossed as he leaned on the door frame. She looked pale, Taehyung muttered. She, Jimin raised a brow. Taehyung narrowed his eyes. You know what I mean, Jimin smirked. So the cold Mafia king does care about his husband? I don't, Taehyung snapped too fast. I just need him alive. Healthy. Safe, because if something happens to him, I'll burn this entire world down. But he didn't say that part out loud. Not yet. The doctor was kind, but distant, clearly paid to be polite, not warm. He checked Jungkook's vitals, asked standard questions, scribbled things down in a black leather notebook. Jungkook answered softly, gaze unfocused. Then came the final question. Any pain? Anywhere? Jungkook hesitated. Only in places you can't examine. The doctor froze briefly, then nodded and left without another word. Jungkook curled back on the couch after he left, pulling the soft throw blanket around his shoulders. The estate was lavish, marble floors, velvet curtains, golden chandeliers, but it felt like a coffin. He was just something Taehyung needed to possess, not love. And yet, his heart betrayed him. It still beat for the man who walked out, later that night. Taehyung returned just past midnight. He was soaked, rain dripped from his hair, jacket tossed aside without a word. The guards parted silently as he walked into the estate, footsteps echoing like gunfire in the hall. He should have gone to bed. He should have ignored it. But his feet took him to Jungkook's room. He paused outside the door, hand hovering over the knob. A part of him feared Jungkook might scream, cry, curse him, beg. Instead, he opened the door quietly and found Jungkook fast asleep on the couch, still in yesterday's clothes, blanket clutched tightly to his chest like armor. So small. So alone. Something twisted in Taehyung's chest. Guilt, maybe. Regret. Or something worse. He walked over, knelt down, and without thinking, brushed a wet strand of hair from Jungkook's cheek. I told you not to expect love, he whispered. But I never said I wouldn't feel it. Sunlight crept in through the heavy curtains, soft and golden. Jungkook blinked, still drowsy, his blanket slightly tugged down around his shoulders. Something felt different. The air. The way the pillows were fluffed. Even the way the room smelled, a faint trace of expensive cologne and rain. Taehyung. He sat up slowly. The door was closed now, but the faint imprint of a large hand on the couch's edge gave it away. He had been here. And even though he left without a word, again, it changed something. Slightly. Quietly. Dangerously. Later that day, the staff informed him that a car was ready for him outside. Mr. Kim's orders, the butler said. You are to accompany him for lunch. No security detail. Jungkook blinked. Lunch? With him? Yes, sir. He's waiting, confused. He got dressed in a simple white shirt and black slacks, still unsure if this was some kind of test, or a trap. When he stepped outside, Taehyung was leaning against a sleek black Rolls-Royce, sunglasses hiding his eyes, a faint breeze ruffling his dark hair. You're late, he said flatly. Jungkook's lips parted. You never told me I was going anywhere, Taehyung shrugged. I figured if you didn't come, I'd have to carry you. There was something almost playful in his tone. Almost? Jungkook got into the car in silence. They drove out of the city, far from the chaos, to a secluded cliffside restaurant overlooking the ocean. Private. Empty. Just the two of them. Jungkook stared out at the crashing waves, unsure why Taehyung had brought him here. Then Taehyung finally spoke. I'm not good at this, he said, his voice low. Marriage. Talking. Being human. Jungkook looked at him, stunned. I didn't want to marry you, Taehyung continued. But I didn't want you hurt either. The words hung between them like fragile glass, ready to shatter. I didn't want to marry you, but I didn't want you hurt either. Jungkook stared at him across the elegant table, unsure whether to feel relieved or insulted. So which is it, he asked softly. Am I a shield or a sacrifice? Taehyung's jaw tensed. You were protection for both our families. The gems fell. If I hadn't claimed you, someone else would have claimed. Jungkook's fingers curled around the glass of water. Do I get a say? He whispered. Taehyung leaned forward slightly. You said I do. I thought maybe. Jungkook swallowed the lump rising in his throat. That it wasn't just a transaction for you. Taehyung didn't reply right away. He removed his sunglasses, finally meeting Jungkook's eyes, and for the first time, the steel in his gaze faltered. You don't understand the world I live in, he said. Feelings make you a target, and not feeling anything makes you alone. Silence. Taehyung looked away first, later. The drive back was quiet. The sun had dipped low, casting the world in a haze of golden crimson. Jungkook watched the scenery pass, heart heavier than before. But just before they arrived, Taehyung spoke again. I'm building something dangerous, he said, staring straight ahead. And people will come after you to destroy me. Jungkook turned to him slowly. Then why keep here at all? Taehyung's grip on the wheel tightened. Because I can't stop myself.